Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the Sedra, the new book of Vayikra, and also it is Shabbos Zachor. We will be reading the special maftir, the conclusion of the Sedra, which is the commandment that we have in Devarim at the end of the Sedra of Kitzetse to remember, to obliterate the memory of Amalek. And this is an especially auspicious and significant time, and the focus, as it has been throughout the period since October the 7th, but we are really dedicating this learning to the safety and the speedy release of all of the rescue of all of the hostages in Gaza, and the safety and security of and success of the mission of all of the soldiers in the IDF. And on Thursday, which unusually is Tanis Esther, as Purim is on Sunday, and instead of being the day before Purim, we don't, as a rule, with the limited exception of the whole day fast of Yom Kippur, that we would fast on Shabbos if that is the day that the 10th of Tishri falls. We bring Tanis Esther forward, the fast of Esther, and we do not choose to fast on Friday, so we bring it forward to Thursday. And there is a call for a worldwide saying of the Pasuk Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, with special kavanah, direction, intention, focus on all of the things that we're dedicating our learning to today: the speedy and safe release of all of the hostages, safety of all of the soldiers of the IDF, and everybody in the world just will unite at 5:30 Israel time, 3:30 UK time, to say the Pasuk and to entreat the heavens, and please God, we should see our prayers and our unity answered with the results that we are so desperately praying and waiting for. And as we consider the confluence of this unusual event and sequence of the readings, and we have Shabbos just the day before Purim, it's possible to look at it always and in these times as how we can feel the warmth in Hashem's call to us. And we open with the words Vayikra el Moshe, and Hashem called to Moshe. And very, very beautifully, Rashi explains, because this phrase, these opening three words, seem almost superfluous, because the Pasuk then continues, Vayedaber Hashem Elov, and Hashem spoke to him, Me'ohel Moed Lema, from the tent of meeting, saying. So this is chapter 1 of Vayikra, verse 1. And Rashi explains, and he called to Moshe, Hakol holech umagia la'oznov. The voice of God would go and reach Moses' ears. V'chol Yisrael lo shomin. But all of Israel would not hear it. Yochol af lahafsokos haisokria. One might be able to think that there was calling at breaks as well. Talmud Lomer, Vayadaber, to teach us otherwise, the verse says, and Hashem spoke. Ledibor haisokria, which implies for speaking. For instances where the Torah says explicitly that God spoke to Moses, there was calling. V'lo lahafsokos, but not for the breaks. Uma hayu hahafsokos mashmos. What mashamshos? What purpose did the breaks serve? Latain revach leMoshe lehisbonein, to give Moshe an interval of time for contemplation, bein parsha la parsha, between one section of Torah and another, uvein inyon la inyon, and between one topic and another. So this calling of Hashem to Moshe Rabbeinu is understood as Loshen Chiba, an expression of warmth and affection and connection. And this, the calling, is, although it was addressed to Moshe Rabbeinu, to Moshe, our teacher, in this instance, it is something that we can all try to hear, try to feel that spiritual heavenly voice calling out to us with warmth, with affection, with that sense of support and encouragement. And in this circumstance, in this way, the question is, how do we do it? Because Rashi says Moshe Rabbeinu alone heard that, and sometimes we have frequencies, certain sounds that somebody with very sharp hearing will be able to hear. A person who doesn't have such clear hearing is not going to be able to hear. Certain animals are able to hear sounds that humans can't. So the question is, how do we do that? How can we actually hear this call? How can we make ourselves able to receive these frequencies? So the first thing is the silences. To understand, just like Rashi explains here, that Moshe Rabbeinu had this opportunity during the breaks. It's something that we've talked about before, that in the Torah text, if you look at these breaks over here, these are midline breaks. Those are called stumas. And then an end of line break will be here, for example, that the break goes right to the end of the line, and that's called a psucha. And the Torah is black fire written on white fire. The black fire is the ink, the white fire is the parchment. And according to the Shulchan Aruch, if there is a mistake in the Sefer Torah, so that some of the stumas, the midline breaks, are accidentally left as end of line breaks, that Sefer Torah is possible and cannot be used for Kriyas HaTorah. So why is that such an opportunity? And I think in this, trying to understand this halacha, looking at the visual, the graphics of the Torah, that we have these breaks, and in this, the beginning, the opening of the center plank of the 5 books of the Torah, we have Vayikra is like the fulcrum. It's really the book around which everything else revolves. Even though we might feel distant from the concept and the practice of bringing animals karbanot, but really this is something that is the central plank. Somehow in these words and practices, there is a special way to feel that chiba, feel that affection from Hashem, and really make ourselves fitting recipients of this affection. So that opportunity for the space, that Hashem, as it were, stood back. He gave the instruction to Moshe Rabbeinu, but instead of bombarding with another instruction, with more words and sound, that moment, that stepping back, that silence was the opportunity for Moshe Rabbeinu and for all of us in the silences in our lives to process, to digest, to make it our own, to somehow take the words of Hashem, the hand of Hashem in our lives on a moment by moment basis, and think, how am I going to apply this? How am I going to elevate myself with this? Whether it's a challenge, whether it's a piece of good news, whether it's something in between, how am I going to utilize all of these tools and all of the ways that Hashem communicates with me? How am I going to make myself receptive to it? And I think that this is a way. And a great musician once explained the fact that the music that he played was so beautiful, and he replied when asked by someone how did he manage to achieve that level of virtuosity, and the musician says, it's how I play the silences. And I think that this is part of the message of the Rashi's explanation here, and the where we look, when we see the white fire, the gaps in the Torah that give us that opportunity to feel Hashem's love in standing back and utilize that as an opportunity to really focus and get to the core of the message of what is going on in our lives. So I think that is the first way that we feel the warmth of Hashem's call to us. And I think that when we have Shabbos, that is a combination of Parsha Zachor, reading the words from the Torah that remind us of the obligation to obliterate the memory of Amalek, And the word that we find in the Psukim is that Amalek asher korcha baderech, that who, and we translate it, of course, untranslatable, but happened to chanced upon you on the way. And this comes from the root mikra, which is coincidence, chance. And this is the worldview of Amalek, that there is no plan, there is no creator, everything just happens randomly. And it is no coincidence that the word kor, which means cold, it is 2/3 of that root. And it is this coldness of the Amalekite philosophy that is in a complete contrast and distinction to the warmth of a value system, of a connection with Hashem, of seeing the wisdom, of seeing the beauty of the white fire on the black fire, or the black fire on the white fire. And so I think that feeling this warmth, we can do that by remembering the coldness that is represented by Amalek. And in that way, we are fulfilling the commandment to obliterate the memory and the worldview of this kind of evil. And in these times, we are living that ourselves. And then this word also comes up in the Megillah, that the Megillah Esther that we will read, please God, on Motzei Shabbat and Sunday morning. And when we say that, when Mordechai finds out about Haman's nefarious plans together with Achashverosh, and he goes to the palace gates in sackcloth and ashes, and the words that he is relaying to Esther when she says that he can't possibly stay there, it is sackcloth and ashes, you can't come to the palace dressed like that. And the word again, korohu, that Mordechai tells Esther everything that happened. And this is not coincidental. This root, this shared root, the shared concept of the idea that comes from Haman, who is the representative of Amalek in the time of the events of Purim. And Haman, again, is that emblem of it's all just random, it's all happening. There's no warmth of Hashem's connection and involvement in our lives. And so Mordechai using that word is an alarm to all of us to really be sensitive and to feel the warmth of Hashem's presence and involvement in our lives, irrespective of the evil people like Haman, like the evil people that we are confronting today, who plan our destruction, dedicate all their resources, ignore everything that they are blessed with, everything that they could make of their lives and create, and instead focus everything on destroying. In this way, Haman destroyed himself, and this is the template for all of the Rashaim, for all of those who dedicate their lives to the purposes of evil. And please God, as we come together as never before in our time, this Tanis Esther and this Shabbos and this Purim and beyond, remembering all of the lessons, remembering the power of our unity, which again is such a vital theme of the Megillah, when Esther, when she realizes what she has to do, she tells to Mordechai, Lech kanos es kol haYehudim, go and gather all of the Jewish people. And this gathering, this unity, this is our most potent weapon against evil. This is the best channel in our communication with Hashem. And may we all feel the warmth of Hashem's chiba and the calling, and be able to hear the frequencies, hear Hashem's messages to us, especially now. And please God, all our prayers should be answered. Wishing everybody Shabbat Shalom and Purim Sameach.